Hi students, I am Dr. Bhavana. In this lecture we are going to deal with locomotion and movement. In the previous lecture we have dealt about locomotion and movement, that is mainly about the structure of the muscle as well as the structure of the contractile proteins. In this lecture we are going to deal with the main topic that is known as mechanism of muscle contraction. Mechanism of muscle contraction, mainly the mechanism. In the mechanism of muscle contraction, mainly takes place by sliding filament theory. Sliding filament theory. So what is the sliding filament theory? Initially, the sliding of actin filaments over myosin filaments. This regulates the muscle contraction through the sliding filament theory. Actin filaments, those are also known as thin filaments. They slide over thick filaments. Thick filaments are also known as myosin filaments. So, this is sliding filament theory. Initially, from the brain, that is through CNS, signals are sent through motor neuron. So what is motor neuron? Motor neuron means which transmit signals from the CNS to the muscle fibers. What about sensory neuron? Sensory neuron means it transmits signals from the muscle fibers to the CNS. Here motor neuron means it transmits from the CNS to the muscle fiber. So this is the muscle fiber. The membrane which lines the muscle fiber is known as sarcolemma. So the motor neuron along with the muscle fiber, important neat question, constitutes the motor unit. These both constitutes the motor unit. So what they'll ask you like this. So what are contributed by this motor unit means motor neuron as well as muscle fiber constitutes the motor unit. So when the signals are sent from the CNS through motor neuron into the muscle fiber, there should be a junction between the passage of neuron as well as muscle fiber. In between the junction is known as neuromuscular junction, means nerve as well as muscle. By name only we can understand neuromuscular junction. So this neuromuscular junction, it releases a neurotransmitter. That neurotransmitter is called as acetylcholine. This neurotransmitter is known as acetylcholine. This acetylcholine will release calcium into the muscle fibers. Will release calcium. There will be increased level of calcium in this muscle fiber. So what happens if there is increased calcium? These calcium molecules, they bind to troponin molecules. In the previous lecture I have told you about actin as well as myosin. But now I am briefing you again if you have missed the previous lecture. In the actin molecule, in the structure of actin, there are two F-actin molecules, and there is one tropomyosin filament also. That filament is known as tropomyosin. Whereas numerous proteins are also present, those are known as troponins. This is the structure of an actin molecule. What are present? Two F-actin filaments are present. One tropomyosin filament is present, and there are numerous troponin molecules. So these calcium, when there is increased level of calcium, these calcium go and bind to these troponin molecules in the actin. What is the use of these troponin molecules? These troponin molecules will play an important role in masking the active sites of myosin. Means myosin also have a structure, that is it has two heads as well as two heads and one tail and one arm which connects the head as well as tail. There is one arm that is present. The two heads are ATP head as well as actin site. ATP site, one is light head, another is heavy head. They have two sites, that is actin site as well as ATP site. What is actin site and ATP site means nothing but, see, here ATP molecules will come and get binded. Here actin molecules will get binded. So what happens here, this when there is increased level of calcium, these calcium ions will get binded to troponin in the actin. So in the myosin, these will unmask the active sites. Means this myosin should go and get binded to this actin molecule. Then only this sliding of actin over myosin takes place. How the mechanism of muscle contraction will take place? When myosin will go and get binded to this actin molecules only, then only this will take place. Muscle contraction will take place. So for this muscle contraction, these troponin molecules are important because they will help in binding of myosin to actin. Means they will mask the active sites of myosin. So these will go and get binded to this. How myosin will get binded is through ATP that is utilized. Utilizing the energy that is provided by ATP, this myosin will get binded to actin molecules. So like this muscle contraction will take place. When the muscle contraction will take place, the actin filaments initially they are bisected by, that is thin filaments are bisected by Z, whereas Z line. Whereas myosin, that is thick filaments, they are bisected by M. This all I have told you in the previous lecture. So they are bisected by Z as well as M. So this is I band, whereas this is A band. So when there is muscle contraction, that is if you want to walk or move somewhere or do some important work, then this I band will get reduced in size. That is, these Z lines come close to each other and there will be shortening of the muscle as well as there will be contraction of the muscle will take place. These Z lines will get close to each other. This is I band. Whereas in A band, it will retain the same length throughout. Whatever happens, if there is contraction of the muscle or if there is relaxation of the muscle, anything whatever happens, this A band will be like that only. But this I band get reduced in size. This causes the shortening of the sarcomere as well as contraction of the muscle. The Z lines will get pulled to each other. Actin filaments are pulled towards each other. So then like this it takes place. When it comes to relaxation, this fully is about contraction. When it comes to relaxation of the muscle, what will happen is this ATP in the myosin, it will get broken down into ADP and PI. When this gets broken down, again these will come to relaxed state. When this ATP is broken down, the muscles will come into relaxed state, as well as here the I band will come to its normal size. It won't get contracted. Z lines are not pulled together. They will be like that only. A band also will be in the same position. The important NEET question which will ask mainly in the locomotion and movement in this chapter is mainly they will ask about the I band only. What happens when there is contraction of the muscle? When there is contraction of the muscle, I band will get reduced in size, whereas A band will retain the same length. Whereas in relaxation of the muscle, I band is not affected at all. A band is also not affected. When there is contraction only, I band will get reduced. This is an important question. So many times they will ask in the NEET about this. So this is about mainly the mechanism of muscle contraction. And when this myosin molecule, when it will get binded to the actin molecule, there is always the formation of cross bridge. The main point is when this myosin head bind to actin, there is formation of cross bridge. This leads to contraction of the muscle. Whereas in the relaxation of the muscle, this cross bridge will get broken down. So there will be relaxation of the muscle. So this is mainly about the mechanism of muscle contraction. First, what I have told you, through sliding filament theory only, mainly mechanism of muscle contraction takes place. That is sliding of thin filaments over thick filaments. Thin filaments are nothing but actin. Thick filaments are nothing but myosin. Sliding of thin filaments over thick filaments. Initially, if you want to walk or you want to run or something you want to do, some voluntary process. This fully is voluntary process. Means if you want to do only, you can do. Involuntary means what? Heart rate, everything is involuntary. But this is mainly voluntary. So the signals are sent from the central nervous system to the muscle fiber through motor neuron. Motor neuron means it transmits signals from central nervous system to the muscle fiber. Whereas sensory neuron, it transmits impulses back from the muscle fiber to the CNS. So this motor neuron as well as muscle fiber, they meet at a junction known as neuromuscular junction. So in this neuromuscular junction, there is a release of neurotransmitter. This release of neurotransmitter is called as acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is released. When this acetylcholine is released, there is a pressure that is built up in the muscle fiber. When the pressure is built in the muscle fiber, there is increase in the level of calcium ions. Most calcium ions, they go and get binded to the troponin of the actin molecules. When these go and get binded to the troponin molecules, these troponin molecules, they masks the active sites of myosin. Means myosin should go and get binded, no? So these myosin will go and get binded to the actin molecules through, there will be two heads, one arm as well as one tail. So there is one actin site to get binded. So this will go and get binded to that. Then there is a formation of cross bridge formation. When utilizing the energy that is provided by ATP only, this myosin will go and get binded to actin. So then sliding filament theory comes into play. That is, these thin filaments will slide over the thick filaments. Then the I band, which is bisected by the Z line, it will get reduced in size. Whereas A band, it will retain the same length. This is about contraction. When it comes to relaxation of the muscle, here again these myosin molecules, what they will do, their cross bridge is broken, the ATP is broken down into ADP and PI. So when these are broken down into ADP as well as PI, this I band will retain its same length. There is no shortening or contraction. So it will come to its normal state during relaxation of the muscle. This A band also will retain the same length. So next what happens is, if you do strenuous exercise, means if you perform so much exercise, then what will happen is, if you do so much of exercise, normally there will be accumulation of lactic acid. The muscles will get fatigue. Fatigue means what? They will become restless. These muscles will get restless due to accumulation of lactic acid, that is due to anaerobic breakdown of glycogen. Anaerobic breakdown of glycogen. So there will be more accumulation of lactic acid due to anaerobic. So muscle contains mainly myoglobin. What is this myoglobin? That is red color oxygen carrying pigment that is present in our blood. That is known as myoglobin. Red oxygen colored pigment. Oxygen colored pigment that is present is known as myoglobin. So this myoglobin is high in some muscles. So they give reddish appearance. So they are known as red fibers. Whereas when there is less myoglobin that is present, those are known as white fibers. In some muscles, myoglobin content is more and they appear red in color, so they are known as red fibers. Whereas here, there will be less amount of myoglobin that is present and they are known as white fibers. If there is more myoglobin that is present, there will be more oxygen that is present, as well as more ATP is present, as well as more number of mitochondria are present. Whereas when there is less myoglobin, everything will be less only. Less oxygen is present because they appear white in color. Less oxygen is present, less ATP is present, less mitochondria are present, everything is less. So this is the difference mainly between the red fibers as well as white fibers. Mainly they will ask you question. In red fibers, for easily, how can you remember? If everything is more, if there is more oxygen, more ATP as well as more mitochondria, these fibers appear red in color and there will be more amount of myoglobin also that is present. Whereas there is less myoglobin, means white fibers, they also have less ATP, less mitochondria, everything. This all will occur due to mainly accumulation of lactic acid due to anaerobic breakdown of glycogen. If there is accumulation of more of lactic acid, means what? It causes the muscle fatigue if you do strenuous exercises. So this is about that. Next we are going to deal with skeletal system. Skeletal system mainly consists of bones as well as cartilages. Mainly they comprise of bones as well as cartilages. Bones means about 206 bones are present in a human adult. How many bones are present means 206 bones, as well as few cartilages are present. In this, they'll ask you how many number of bones are present. Means you should say 206 bones in an adult human being, 206 bones are present. In this bones, in this 206 bones, mainly the bones are composed of hard structure. Mainly calcium is present in the bones, whereas in the cartilages it is a soft pliable matrix that is present. Soft pliable matrix is present. Then chondroitin salts are present. Chondroitin salts means in bones we see more of calcium level will be there. Like that only in cartilages also there should be some substance that is present. That substance is known as chondroitin salts. and this is very soft. Cartilages will be very soft, whereas bones will be very hard structures. So mainly the skeletal system is mainly divided into bones and cartilages. 206 bones are present. Bones are hard, cartilages are very soft, pliable matrix is present. Here more of calcium is present. Here more of chondroitin salts are present. And in the bones mainly it is divided into axial skeleton as well as appendicular skeleton. What is this axial skeleton? Means everything that is the main axis of the body, the central main axis of the body constitutes the axial skeleton. Means mainly about 80 bones are present in this, 80 bones. Whereas in the appendicular skeleton means other than the main axis of the body, this is appendicular skeleton, that is limbs, that is all the limbs will come under appendicular skeleton. It here consists of 30 bones. About 30 bones are present. So axial skeleton comprises of 80 bones, all the mid parts of the body, that is constitutes the axial skeleton, whereas appendicular skeleton means all the limbs that are present, that constitutes the appendicular skeleton. Here 30 bones are present. They'll ask these numericals, you have to remember very nicely. So in this axial skeleton, what will happen is, mainly the parts that are present in axial skeleton are skull, vertebra, as well as ribs, as well as sternum. See, these all are present in the midline of the body only. Skull, you have only one skull that is present in the midline. Vertebrae, they are also again from the skull they pass, vertebrae. Here also ribs also they are attached, but these also come under axial skeleton only, whereas sternum also only one is present. That also will come under axial skeleton. So now we are going to deal in detail about this axial skeleton. In this axial skeleton mainly, we have discussed that first skull is present. Skull, it is mainly composed of cranial bones as well as facial bones. Cranium as well as facial. Cranium means we all know. Skull, cranium. That is cranium, what is present? About, in this total 22 bones are present. That is 8 bones in the cranium as well as 14 bones in the facial. Whatever the skull means what? Brain as well as face bones, everything will come under skull. So cranium, totally 22 bones are present. In the cranium about 8 bones are present, whereas in facial 14 bones are present. This is about the skull mainly, and there is one hyoid bone also which is present. Hyoid bone, here it will be present near the neck. This is also one bone that is present in the midline. This hyoid bone in detail you will deal in the MBBS or something about the hyoid bone. So that is hyoid bone. Then ear ossicles, that is malleus, incus, stapes. Malleus, incus, stapes. What are these 3 bones that are present in the middle ear? In this malleus, incus, stapes also, here they are present mainly. In the ear, these also constitute. Whereas 2 occipital bones are also present. Occipital bones means they are present backside of the skull. First year anatomy in the MBBS, you will deal about all this. What are occipital bones, hyoid bones, everything in detail. But for now, this all is not needed for you. This all is very simple actually, but that you will deal here. Only what bones are present, only this much you should remember. So malleus, incus, stapes. as well as two occipital bones are also present. So in the skull mainly, it consists of cranial bones as well as facial bones. 22 bones are present. That is cranium 8, 14 facial. One hyoid bone is present in the neck. Malleus incus stapes, that is these three are the bones that are present in the ear, innermost layer of the ear. Whereas two occipital bones that are present on the back side of the skull, here also two occipital bones are present. Next, after that is about skull. Next, what is the main thing? That is sternum. Sternum is present in the ventral part of midline of the thorax. Means back side, there is one single strong bony structure that is known as sternum. It is mainly present on the ventral side of midline of the thorax. On the ventral side it is present. This is sternum. This is about sternum. Next we'll deal with ribs. These ribs, they are attached to the sternum only. Numerous ribs are attached to the sternum mainly. First, there are how many types of ribs that are present? Totally there are about 12 pairs of ribs. They'll ask you here, see, in this mainly about the skeletal system, mainly they'll ask about the ribs as well as vertebrae only, mainly they'll ask. So focus on this mainly. 12 pairs of ribs are present. These 7 pairs of ribs, first 7 pairs, they are known as true ribs. Why they are known as true ribs? Because they are attached to the sternum. See, these all are attached to the sternum. These all are attached to the sternum, so they are known as true ribs. While as 8, 9, 10, 8 rib, 9th rib, 10th rib. These 3 ribs, they are attached to the 7th rib. So they are known as false ribs. Whereas the other 2 ribs, they are not at all attached to the sternum. They will be floating. They will give a floating appearance. 11th as well as 12th. They give floating appearance, so they are known as floating ribs. Floating. See, mainly don't get confused about these ribs. How many ribs are present? There are mainly 12 pairs of ribs that are present. In this 12 pairs of ribs, first 7 pairs, they are attached to the sternum. Because they are attached to the sternum, they are known as true ribs. Whereas 8th, 9th, 10th, these 8, 9, 10, these are not attached to the sternum. That's why they are known as false ribs. Because they are attached to 7th rib by help of cartilage, that is hyaline cartilage. With the help of hyaline cartilage, they are attached. Next, the 11th and 12th ribs, they are known as floating ribs. They are not at all attached to the sternum. That's why they appear like floating appearance. That's why they are known as floating ribs. So this is about all the 12 pairs of ribs that are present. So next we are going to deal with the vertebrae that are present. So mainly there are 5 types of vertebrae that are present. 5 types of vertebrae are present. These 5 types of vertebrae, they are called as, first one is cervical vertebrae. Next is thoracic vertebrae. Third is lumbar. Fourth is sacral. Fifth is coccygeal vertebrae. These all you should remember in an order. because this is only important NEET questions they'll ask in vertebrae as well as ribs. Mainly in the cervical vertebrae, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, coccygeal vertebrae. Mainly the cervical vertebrae, only 7 cervical vertebrae are present. Thoracic, 12 are present. Lumbar, 5 are present. Sacral, 1. Coccygeal also 1. These numericals are very important for you, because how many cervical vertebrae are present, like that they'll ask. Cervical, see, this is the vertebral column. To that numerous cervical vertebrae are attached. About 7 are attached. Thoracic vertebrae also, about 12 thoracic vertebrae are attached. In between these vertebrae, the space is known as intervertebral discs. Intervertebral means between two vertebrae, intervertebral discs are present. Lumbar, 5 are present, whereas sacrum as well as coccygeal, only 1 is present. Sacral as well as coccygeal, only one vertebrae is present. So these vertebrae, they have hollow spaces. Means here they have hollow spaces through which in the middle spinal cord passes. Spinal cord is passed through these 26 vertebrae which are present. All if you count, it will come under 26. So these 26 vertebrae, they help in passage of spinal cord from the brain. These vertebrae, they support the spinal cord. So vertebrae is very essential for every individual because they support the spinal cord. 7 cervical vertebrae, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 1 sacral as well as 1 coccygeal are present. So this is about the vertebrae. Next we are going to deal with normally in the human limb, if we are going to limbs means what, we are coming to appendicular skeleton. Till now what we have dealt is axial skeleton. Now we are going to deal with appendicular skeleton. In appendicular skeleton, what will happen is the human limb, it is mainly made of first hands. Hand we will deal. Humerus bone is present. Next radius as well as ulna is present. Radius as well as ulna. Humerus, radius, ulna. Carpals. Metacarpals. Next, phalanges. Humerus, this is humerus bone, that is, it is present in the hand, that is upper limbs, hands or upper limbs. First the main bone is humerus bone, whereas radius as well as ulna, these are the continuation of the humerus. They are present from here to here. That is radius as well as ulna. Next, wrist bones are known as carpals. Wrist bones. These are known as carpals. They are about 8 in number. This number also is important. Humerus only 1 is present. Radius as well as ulna also only one bone is present. Whereas carpals, they are about 8 bones are present. Metacarpals means what? All these 5, these constitutes the metacarpals, 5 bones. Phalanges means what? In this also, again they are divided into 3, like that, every 3. For these 4, 3 are divided. Here only 2 are present. So these are phalanges. 14 are present. So this is about the upper limb. When it comes to lower limb, here also you have one main bone that is known as femur, that is thigh bone. To this thigh bone, there are two bones which are attached, that is tibia as well as fibula. To these, tarsals are attached. Tarsals. Again, metatarsals as well as phalanges. Same like this only. Everything one tibia, one fibula, tarsals 8 tarsals, metatarsals are 5, phalanges again like that. Like this only, same. This is about hand, this is about the leg. That is upper limb as well as lower limb. So this is mainly about the humerus, radius ulna, carpals. This is about the appendicular skeleton. In appendicular skeleton, there are numerous bones that are present. That is humerus main bone, the hand bone. Next, radius as well as ulna, carpals 8 bones, metacarpals 5, phalanges 14, femur 1, tibia 1, fibula 1, tarsals, metatarsals as well as phalanges are present. So this is about the appendicular skeleton. Helps in articulation of upper limbs to the main axial skeleton. Limbs means they can't live without some attachment. So there should be some attachment to the main axial skeleton that is present. So this pectoral girdle plays a very important role in this articulation, whereas pelvic girdle that is present in the lower limbs, that plays an important role in articulation of upper as well as lower limbs. Next we are going to deal with mainly joints. So there are mainly 3 types of joints that are present. What are joints? Joints means nothing but which are present in contact between the bones. Between the bones, joints are present. So these joints are mainly of 3 types, that is fibrous joints, synovial joints as well as cartilaginous joints. Mainly the fibrous joints means what? The bones of the skull. They are attached through these fibrous joints. They have no movement at all. The skull bones won't move. So that these come under fibrous joints only. They are attached to fibrous cartilage. Whereas synovial, these here vertebrae, they allowed very limited movement. Example is vertebrae. That is, they allow very limited movement. That is synovial joints. Whereas cartilaginous joints, all the joints, most of the joints will come under cartilaginous joints only. Cartilaginous means what? With the help of cartilage they are connected. So ball and socket joint. Hinge joint is knee joint that is present. Knee joint as well as the gliding joint, ball and socket joint, hinge joint, gliding joint as well as numerous pivot joint. These all come under ball and socket joint means what? It is present between the humerus, that is upper limb, as well as pectoral girdle. Before I have drawn humerus as well as these both are connected through pectoral girdle, are connected through this ball and socket joint. Knee joint means hinge joint. Gliding joint is present between the carpals as well as metacarpals. Carpals means these wrist bones. They are connected. Pivot joint means what? Between the atlas and axis. The first vertebrae is called as atlas. So between the vertebrae and axis, this pivot joint is present. So mainly these are the three types of joints that are present. Here also in NEET they'll ask mostly about the joints and their examples. All the joints which come are under cartilaginous joints only. Only vertebrae means they allow very little movement. Here full movement will be there here in cartilaginous joints. Whereas in synovial joints, very limited movement, that is vertebrae. They won't move very vigorously or they won't move at all. Like that it won't be there. Very limited movement, that is vertebrae. Skull means only fibrous joints. So these are about the joints. So what are the disorders that are associated mainly? The disorders that are associated with this locomotion and movement is, disorders associated are myasthenia gravis. Myasthenia gravis. Next, tetany, as well as arthritis, gout. These all are the disorders that are associated. Myasthenia gravis means what? Here this is an autoimmune disorder. Autoimmune disorder. It leads to degeneration of the muscles. This is an autoimmune disorder. In many celebrities also autoimmune disorder is seen. That is, our immune cells only, they will affect our immune system. So this will come under, these affect the skeletal muscles. That's why this come under disorders of locomotion and movement. So autoimmune disorder that leads to degeneration of the skeletal muscles. Whereas tetany, this occurs due to low calcium level. The limbs and all, they won't move properly due to low calcium level. That is tetany. Arthritis means inflammation of joint. Inflammation, there will be so much of inflammation in the joints. So that is arthritis. Whereas gout also there is inflammation of joints, but that occurs due to accumulation of uric acid crystals. Uric acid will get accumulated and it leads to inflammation of joints. That is about gout. So there are mainly 4 types of disorders that are associated. That is myasthenia gravis, that is an autoimmune disorder that leads to fatigue of muscles. Tetany is low calcium level that is present. Arthritis is inflammation of joints. Gout also inflammation of joints only, but that occurs due to accumulation of uric acid crystals. There are many other diseases also, but mainly I'll tell you about osteoporosis. This is additional information. Osteoporosis also, it occurs due to these muscles and all these joints, everything, they will become very weak and there will be breaking of these joints very easily. They will become very porous joints and bones means they should be very strong. But here in osteoporosis, they will become very weak and they lead to diseases. So this is about the locomotion and movement and the disorders which are associated with it.